My ex-fiancé who left me 5 weeks ago recently messaged me. She asked to pick up some things from the garage. 5 weeks. It's been 5 weeks since the day my life imploded. 5 weeks since my fiancé left me, walked out the door, and left me with a heart that felt shredded. We were together for almost 4 years, which feels like a lifetime when you think about it. Everything had been so predictable. I had thought we were solid, that the future I envisioned was also the one she saw. But all that ended 5 weeks ago, and I've been living in the shadow of that day ever since. The no-contact method, it's been my lifeline. I read about it somewhere on the internet, and it seemed like the only thing to do. I knew that texting her, begging her, would only drive her further away, so I held back, deleted her number, blocked her on all social media. But the silence is deafening. The emptiness of not hearing her voice, not seeing her updates, is like walking through a ghost town of my own life. 2 weeks ago, though, she broke the silence. It wasn't anything grand, nothing that gave me hope. She just wanted her things from my garage. Of course. Of all the things left unsaid between us, her forgotten belongings had to be the excuse to talk. It was a punch in the gut, but I responded with a level of coolness I didn't know I was capable of. I told her I was out of town for work, which wasn't a lie. I had been traveling for the past 2 weeks. Part of me was relieved that I had an excuse not to see her. If I were home, I would have been a mess. She said to let her know when I was back. That's it. No, how are you doing? No acknowledgement of what had happened. Just business. She wanted her things, and I was to inform her when it was convenient. It felt so transactional, so far removed from the life we had shared. Before I left for this work trip, I went through the garage, took stock of everything she might want. There wasn't much left. A pair of old gardening gloves, a dusty gym bag she hadn't used in years. I stood there in the garage, staring at the remnants of what was once a shared life, wondering if this was really all she wanted. Somehow, I doubted it. Maybe it's because I still can't understand why she left. I've spent countless sleepless nights trying to piece it together, but nothing makes sense. Could it really be over for her so easily? Or does she want to see if I'm still broken, still pining over her? I imagine her coming by, seeing me there, and feeling some satisfaction in knowing that I'm still as devastated as the day she left. That thought makes me sick, but I can't shake it. I know I'm not supposed to care what she thinks, but I do. I care too much, even now, and that's the worst part of all of this. I'm still so hopelessly in love with her. Should I be there when she comes? Should I open the garage, leave her things out, and disappear, making it easier on both of us? Or should I face her, look her in the eye, and see if there's anything left of the person I used to know? The flight home was long, too long. As much as I dreaded facing the situation, I also hated the thought of continuing in this limbo. The entire plane ride, I couldn't stop thinking about that text message. Her words echoed in my head, tugging at the wounds I had tried to keep closed. Let me know when you're back. Like I was just a business transaction to complete. When I got home, the first thing I did was walk into the garage. The space felt smaller, more oppressive, now that I knew she would be coming. Everything in there carried some trace of her. The old gardening gloves, forgotten after one spring when we had planned to start a garden that never happened. The bag she hadn't touched in years, it still had her initials on the side. A reminder that we used to belong to each other in some way. I picked up the gloves, ran my fingers over the worn leather. For a moment, I could almost see her there, bent over the small patch of dirt we had cleared, the sun glinting off her hair. She had been so focused, so determined, and I had been so sure that we had more than enough time to finish that garden. But time, as it turns out, isn't always what you think it is. I put the gloves down, my heart heavy. It was strange how the smallest things carried the biggest weight. It wasn't the big moments that got to me, it wasn't the trips we took, the anniversaries we celebrated, it was the little things, like her gloves, that made me feel her absence the most. The things that made me feel like I was still living in the shadow of something that no longer existed. But what did she want with these old things? Did she really need them? Or was this just an excuse? Was it her way of seeing if I was still hanging on? Or maybe even her attempt to make some kind of closure? I didn't know, and the not knowing was what killed me. Should I be there when she comes? The question gnawed at me. On the one hand, I wanted to see her, even if it hurt. On the other, I was afraid of what seeing her would do to me. I imagined her walking in, cold and distant, acting like nothing had happened. That would crush me. I still loved her so much, and I didn't know if I could handle her indifference. I wanted her back. There, I admitted it. I wanted her to see me, to realize she had made a mistake. But deep down, I knew that wasn't how this was going to go. If she wanted me back, she wouldn't have left in the first place. The days dragged on. I told her I was back in town, and she said she would come by at the end of the week. That gave me a few more days to stew in my own thoughts, which was both a blessing and a curse. Every hour felt like a countdown to something I wasn't ready for. The anticipation was almost worse than the reality, because in anticipation, your mind fills in all the worst possibilities. I played out different scenarios in my head, none of them good. In one, she came in, grabbed her things, and left without a word. In another, she saw me and looked right through me, as if I were just a stranger. Or worse, she acted like we were old friends, like she was perfectly fine and had moved on without a second thought. But there was also a small, irrational part of me that hoped that maybe, just maybe, she would come back, that she would see me and realize she still loved me. I hated that part of me. It was foolish, and I knew it, but hope, once it finds a crack to slip through, is hard to shake. I kept myself busy with work, trying not to think about it, but it was always there in the back of my mind. I went through the garage again, rearranging things, making sure everything that was hers was easy to find. I didn't want to give her any reason to linger longer than necessary. If she was going to come, she should get what she needed and leave, but I wasn't sure if I really wanted that. The day before she was supposed to come, I barely slept. I kept imagining what it would be like to see her again. Would I be able to keep it together? Or would I break down the moment I saw her? I knew I couldn't beg her to come back. I knew that would only push her further away. But the thought of seeing her and not saying something, not telling her how much I still loved her, felt impossible. The morning of her visit, I woke up early, too anxious to stay in bed. I sat in the kitchen, drinking coffee, staring at the garage door as if it held all the answers. I had to make a decision. Should I be there, or should I leave? As the morning wore on, I found myself pacing. I still hadn't made a decision. Should I stay and face her, or make it easy on both of us and disappear for the afternoon? I went through all the possible outcomes again, my mind running in circles, and it only added to the knot of anxiety in my chest. I looked at the clock hours to go, but they felt like minutes. I finally grabbed my car keys. It was too much. I needed air, a distraction, anything to pull me out of the suffocating weight of indecision. I drove with no destination in mind, just moving, just trying to outrun my own thoughts. But no matter how fast I went, I couldn't shake the image of her walking into the garage without me there, collecting the remnants of her life, and leaving. I pulled into a parking lot at a local park and just sat there. The afternoon sun filtered through the trees, and families were out playing on the grass, kids laughing, couples walking hand in hand. I watched them from a distance, feeling like I didn't belong in that world anymore. That used to be as carefree, full of plans. Now I felt like I was on the outside, looking in on a life I'd lost. I stayed there for hours, just watching people pass by, trying to calm the storm in my head. But no matter what I did, the anxiety wouldn't let go. By the time I made it back home, it was late afternoon, and I realized I had run out of time. She could show up at any moment. I stood in the garage, looking at the bag and gloves once more. The idea of seeing her face, hearing her voice, filled me with dread. I knew what it would do to me, and yet, I couldn't help the small part of me that still wanted to be there when she came. To see her again, even if it was for the last time. To see if there was any flicker of recognition in her eyes. Any sign that she regretted leaving. But I couldn't stay. Not like this. I wouldn't survive it. Not emotionally, at least. So, with a heavy heart, I did the only thing I could. I opened the garage door and walked away. I went upstairs to my bedroom and closed the door, trying to muffle the sound of my own thoughts. I didn't want to hear the garage door opening. Didn't want to hear her footsteps as she came in. I laid on the bed, staring at the ceiling, waiting. My heart was racing, but there was nothing left to do. I had made my choice. As I lay there, I tried to prepare myself for the inevitable. The moment when I would hear her car pull up. When she would walk into the garage and gather her things. Would she linger? Would she look around at the house? At the life we had shared? Or would she be as quick and distant as I imagined? I wouldn't know. I wasn't strong enough to watch it happen. So I stayed upstairs, hidden in my own house, hiding from the person who used to be my world. The minutes ticked by, each one heavier than the last. I strained to listen for any sounds, footsteps, a car engine, anything, but the house was still. So painfully still. I started to wonder if maybe she had changed her mind. Maybe she wasn't coming after all. Hours passed, and eventually, the sun began to set. I got up from the bed, feeling hollow, and slowly made my way downstairs. The garage door was still open, just as I had left it, but nothing had been touched. Her things were still there, untouched, like they had been all along. She hadn't come. I stood there, staring at the gloves and the bag, feeling something between relief and disappointment. I had been so sure she would show up, that I would have to face her in some way, even indirectly, but instead, I was left standing in the same place I had been for weeks alone, waiting for something that wasn't going to happen. Over the next few days, I found myself drifting. I had expected her to come that day, and when she didn't, it threw me off balance even more. Was it a mind game? Did she forget? Or maybe she had changed her mind completely and didn't care about those things after all. I found myself returning to the garage more often than usual, staring at the small collection of items she left behind. Every time I walked in there, it was like I was walking into a memory. The air was heavy with the past, and I could almost see her moving around the space, tying up her hair, rummaging through her bag, laughing at some joke I made. It felt like a haunting, but not the supernatural kind. No, this was the kind of haunting that comes from within, where your own memories turn into ghosts, lingering in the spaces you used to share with someone else. I wondered how long it would take for those ghosts to leave, or if they ever would. Every time I saw her gloves, I felt the weight of all the things we never got to do together. The life we had planned but never lived. I started taking long walks after work, anything to get out of the house and away from the garage. I would wander through the neighborhood, Walking the same paths we used to take together. It wasn't healthy, I knew that, but I couldn't help myself. I felt like I was searching for something, some kind of closure. Maybe, but what I found instead was more emptiness. The world outside kept moving, but I felt stuck in place. The same thoughts, the same memories, looping over and over, the same questions. Why did she leave? Was it my fault? Could I have done something differently? I never got any answers. Just more silence. A week passed, then another. Life carried on, but I still hadn't heard from her. I figured she had forgotten about her things. Or maybe she had decided they weren't worth the trouble. Either way, I was done waiting. It was a Saturday afternoon when I finally decided to clear out the garage. I needed to reclaim the space. To stop letting her absence define my every move. I grabbed a box and began gathering up the things she had left behind. The gloves went in first. Then the bag. I found a few other small items, a book, an old water bottle. All of it felt like artifacts from another life. As I was packing the last of her things, I heard the unmistakable sound of a car pulling into the driveway. My heart jumped into my throat. I hadn't expected anyone, and for a split second, I thought it might be her. I froze, staring at the open garage door, unsure of what to do. But it wasn't her. It was a neighbor, pulling up to ask if I needed help with something. I breathed a sigh of relief and forced a smile, making small talk as best as I could. But even as we talked, my mind was elsewhere. I kept thinking about how easily someone else could fill the space she left behind. How life goes on, whether you're ready for it or not. That night, I sat in the living room, the box of her things sitting next to me. I had packed it all up, but I didn't know what to do with it. I couldn't just throw it away, it still felt like a part of her. A part of us, but keeping it didn't feel right either. I stared at the box for what felt like hours, trying to make a decision. Finally, I grabbed my phone and sent her a message. It was short, simple. I told her I had packed up her things, and she could come get them whenever she was ready. Then I waited. This time, she responded almost immediately. She said she would come by the next day. I didn't know how to feel. Part of me was relieved that this would finally be over, that I wouldn't have to wonder anymore. But another part of me dreaded the idea of seeing her again. Even if it was just for a few minutes. Would I be able to hold it together? Would I say something I'd regret? Or worse, would I fall apart the moment I saw her face? I didn't know, but I was about to find out. The next morning, I was a bundle of nerves. She was supposed to come by in the early afternoon, and I spent the entire morning pacing around the house, trying to distract myself. I cleaned the kitchen, straightened up the living room, anything to keep my mind off the inevitable. When the time finally came, I stood in the living room, watching the driveway through the window. Her car pulled up, and my heart felt like it was about to explode. She got out, looking as composed and put together as ever, and I felt a wave of emotions wash over me. Love, pain, longing, all mixed together in a way that made it hard to breathe. She didn't linger. She walked up to the garage, grabbed the box, and put it in her car. No words, no glances in my direction. Just business, like always, as if we hadn't shared almost 4 years of our lives together. I watched her drive away, and when she was gone, I realized something I hadn't expected. It hurt, yes, but it didn't destroy me. I stood there for a long time, staring at the empty driveway, feeling a strange sense of relief wash over me. I had been dreading this moment for so long, but now that it had come and gone, I felt lighter, like maybe, just maybe, I could finally start moving on. The garage was empty now. No more remnants of her. No more ghosts lingering in the corners. It was just a garage again, a space I could fill with something new. Maybe it wasn't closure, exactly, but it was enough. For the first time in weeks, I felt like I could breathe again. In the weeks that followed, life slowly started to return to normal. The ache in my chest didn't disappear overnight, but it got easier to live with. The memories were still there, of course, but they no longer had the same power over me. I could think about her without feeling like the ground was falling out from under me. I started reconnecting with friends, going out more, filling my days with things that made me feel alive again. I still had moments where I missed her, where I wondered what could have been, but those moments were fewer and farther between. It wasn't easy, and I knew it would be a long time before I was truly over her. But for the first time in a long time, I felt hopeful that I could build something new, something that was mine alone, and that, maybe, one day, I would find someone who would stay. And if not, well, that would be okay too. Life goes on, it always does, and so would I.